All right, welcome everyone to the Operator Lifecycle Manager Working Group. Today, February the 10th, and good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. A warm welcome to you all. And let's get started with the list agenda. I will set screen in a second. All right. So for today, we having one agenda on the OLM catalog viewer GUI from Chris and Nathan for the demo. Chris, Nathan, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't know if Chris is here or not, but I'm here. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. So yeah, no worry. You can, if you can handle it, you can get started.
Yeah, do you mind if I share the screen quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. Please do. Henry, turn off my share screen so you can get started.
All right, this will be my first time sharing screen on Zoom, so bear with me for a moment here. All right, let me share. Well, I may have to rejoin here. I have to grant system preferences to let it share.
Permission, correct. You're on Mac, right? Okay. Yeah, please do. We can wait for you. No problem.
Okay, I will be right back. I just have to restart. Give me 1 second.
Cool. All right. In the meantime, we only have one item on agenda for today. But if you guys who are attending here having anything else you guys want to talk about, feel free to add into the agenda list. And if we and I will obviously open forum for open discussion after the demo from Nathan as well. If anyone wants to ask any question, for sure. But if you have anything specifically, feel free to add into the list.
I would like to add one item to the list, but I don't have edit rights. So if you could please.
Yeah, sure. And you normally have to subscribe into the Google Group to able to have access to that doc that you see there. But you can type it on chat. I can copy that into the doc for you for now.
All right. I requested edit access, but maybe let me add it to the chat.
All right, I'm back. Can you see a screen that says welcome to the OLM catalog visualizer?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I'll give a little background here and then kind of what we were hoping to get by presenting here. So I'm coming from IBM and my team does a lot of work with OLM and catalogs and operators in general. And we had a program here where we could get new hires together to work on some fun and interesting projects they don't necessarily get to work on in their day-to-day jobs. So one of the things that I thought would be beneficial that I just didn't have time myself in my spare time to create was a way to visualize an OLM catalog, really get a early investigation, see what kind of packages are in there, maybe look at the channel update graph and see some dependency relationships and get a way to visualize that. Because the way I was doing that before with an SQLite based catalog was either standing it up and running GRP commands against it or extracting the database and running SQLite against it and formatting that data, keeping it all in my head and finding a nice way to do that. So that is what led to this project here. And if you have any questions while I'm going, feel free to answer. And I'd like to show a demo of how this works and some of the features with it. And what I would like to start the conversation on at the end here is perhaps maybe a discussion of donating some of this back to your community if you feel like you could get some benefit from this, or if it sparks any ideas, we could talk about that as well. So the way that this tool works is if you go ahead and specify a catalog source, I'm going to use our IBM one. It will go ahead and grab that catalog source, and right now it communicates with the gRPC API. So it'll start the catalog up in the background. It'll take a moment here to to load that content. And it'll give you a table view here of all of the different products inside of that catalog. And then if you pick one of them, I'm going to pick one at random, it will actually draw this little graph for you. And what it shows is each one of these white boxes is a bundle, and it'll show you the version of that bundle. And you can click on a bundle to get information that's returned from the API, like what the package name is, the channel name, the version, the CSV inside of that bundle, what the skip range is, where you can actually get the bundle from, and some of the properties. So a lot of that information from the OLM API you can see right here. And what it'll also do is, so there's a little bit of naivety here because the backend isn't using the OLM APIs. That's one of the reasons we'd like to talk about seeing if there's any interest in this, is to harden some of this up with using the Go code for OLM in the backend. Right now it just uses the GRP API contract, but you can click on something like show skip ranges and it'll draw from one node to the next what that update path might look like. You can also show what if you're going through the replaces route, what that will look like, and it tries to order it by channel. And the other interesting thing you can do that has somewhat benefit is if you click on it and hit show dependencies, it'll actually render a graph view for you that shows you what the first layer of dependencies are for your bundle at that version, and it'll show you what its update graph looks like. And then based on some information like the default channel and the APIs and the versions that you're requesting, what the likely node is in that graph that would be installed on a cluster. Now that, again, there's some naivety there because it's using the GRP spec contract. It's not using the actual OLM resolution code. So there could be some discrepancies on an actual cluster. But yeah, we mainly wanted to come here and give a preview of this tool that we've been working on. It's helped a few of the folks out that I've talked to inside of our company, and we wanted to give a quick demonstration on it and see if it sparked any interest from the larger community here, to see if there were any interest in maybe having a discussion of bringing this out into the open, if it's something that you're working on as well, if you'd like to see some of this or anything like that. So with that, I'll stop. I'll stop talking. I'll stop sharing here as soon as I can figure out how to stop sharing, and I'll open up it for some discussion here.
Yeah, I'm actually refer you to keep it open actually, if you don't mind. Yeah, that would be
Yep.
right. Maybe turn off the dependency wrap. I just want to see the skip range and stuff would be nice. First of all, Ray demo, I love it. From my personal experience, that catalog content itself can be rather complex, regardless the backend you're using, either the SQLite or the current new format, the file-based catalog with the JSON or YAML blob. Either way, it's still a bunch of text, so to speak, and it's always difficult to visualize the relationship between the version. And I think what you're doing here is really make everything easier, especially for the people who really don't care about a lot of detail behind that. They just want to care about how version get upgraded to the order, which is mainly the customer itself or the one that who designing this specific operator. So I think this is really a beautiful tool to actually show off this. And for anybody else who familiar with OLM API, obviously we have the thing called package manifest that normally using to drive in the console and stuff like that. But the limitation behind that package manifest API is the fact that it's presenting the visualization from the package level, not from the bundle level, unlike what you have seen so far from Nathan. So from the package level, they only care about pretty much about the channel and the head of the channel, meaning the latest version on that specific channel. It does not really presenting how any another version in that channel potentially connect to each other, like what Nathan just showed here right on the screen. So I think this is a really neat tool for sure, 100%, to able to really show off that. And I'm certainly interested on bring this thing into the like for me, I cannot speak for the entire team, into the OM for sure. And to me, this it's it is on itself can become a standalone repo. I think it doesn't have to belong to either registry or current OLM repo, because to me, it's input in the catalog source, and it's output obviously this beautiful wrapper you have seen here. So it doesn't have to be, bundle into OLM or registry for that matter. It just basically vendor certain API for sure. As you mentioned, that's using the gRPC API from the registry repo. So that would be beautiful. Just one thing for sure here that I want to mention real quick before I'm closing out my long speech, that you only using gRPC, right? You do not using any further API to demonstrating this. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to bring up. Is I would definitely like to see this work with both the gRPC API and be able to read the contents of a file-based catalog as well. And one of the places you could potentially take this is if you wrap it in a container and actually put it on a cluster, you could use the OLM provided APIs to detect what catalog sources are on your cluster, pick one of those, and then you could even go as far as to use some of the OLM, like the operator API and some stuff like that, to visualize some more information, but definitely start our way towards reading in file-based catalog content as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you're having the right approach for this area already. That because the gRPC API is the common route between the SQLite catalog source and the file-based catalog source that we currently have. And both of them using gRPC, and gRPC is the one that we basically expose the content of the catalog to the OLM side, right? So that way you should basically focus your intention on, because any another API for you more like doing more declaration to make more for extra information. It should not be the place for you to basically define how OLM actually see the data from the catalog source. You see what I'm saying here? Yeah, so that's it for sure. The reason why I'm asking that is because when you demonstrate the dependency, that is error. You need to be careful, because gRPC can only give you the information, but how that information become the input into the OLM resolver is not there.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So at the moment, the OLM resolver API is not really an API yet. It's still kind of heavily nested within OLM. So we're currently having some work that we're planning to do, hopefully, to actually make that API become a separate API that can be fully, vendor in and interact with in the completely independent manner. So hopefully, when that thing becomes reality, you can totally hook it up into this particular catalog visualizer, and I think that would be beautiful, right?
Yeah, that would be nice, because right now, basically, like you just said, we're taking the information we get back from the gRPC API with all that bundle information, and then kind of having to do a little bit of the same work that OLM resolver is doing, based on how we understand the resolver works, to do a best guess effort of what that resolution would look like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have done a good job on that. But again, may as well, if that API become available, make quick using it. You don't have
definitely
to duplicate the effort there. So that would work out well for this particular work here. So that's nice. Anyway, I think I have done quite a bit of talking. I would love to hear any other feedback, input, any thought, anything that any other member here would like to share with the group. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to say I think this is a really, really cool tool. It's something that on the OLM side we would definitely have benefited from for a long time, a way to visualize catalog content. So it's really intuitive and really, really well done. One thing I was thinking about as a possible other feature, another direction to go, is to sort of have in this tool not just the ability to visualize the catalog, but the ability to play around with adding new edges and generating like the requisite skips or skip ranges that are required to move from one edge in one channel to another, because that's a common source of confusion. There's a lot of ways between moving from one bundle to the next, depending on what's available. So go ahead. So that's another thing I wanted to mention. And the other thing is, so this shows it sorry, so let's discuss. So that's the first thought I had.
Yeah, that first thought, I definitely think that there's a lot of room here as well. If this had a view where it was a dev mode for a catalog builder, you could drag and drop a new node in here, and you could draw your arrows of how you want that skip range and replaces to look, or you could have some field to input that and give a view of what that would look like, kind of like as a dry run, add my bundle to this, and then get that view. And you could even, have a, if you gave it a Docker file, you could render out what that catalog would look like at the end, kind of, export my current graph as a catalog or something like that. I definitely think that there's a lot of additions you could add to this from a catalog developer point of view that could make the process a little easier for some of those things, especially like I have my new version. How does it fit into my upgrade path?
Right. Right. Yeah, and I think that's a really exciting use case as well for this.
Yeah. Sorry, Dan. I just want to say something real quick, because the name of the application that Nathan is demonstrating is like visualizer. So it's about showing what is in the catalog source. What you're asking the editor, which is, I think it's nice. I think that's something should possibly incorporate it into this. And I think I mentioned earlier on, Nathan, that when you're touching the FPC API, you can totally do that. I mean, they draw something and they want to add another version, and they, using skip range, blah, blah, blah. You can totally generate that, assuming they give you the bundle, of course. To generate that into a new FPC with all of the existing stuff, even though in that case, obviously, you know that you need to touching the FPC directly. gRPC would not be able to give you that.
Right.
You can constructing the output from the FPC from the gRPC into an FPC. Obviously, you can do that, but there's no API available for you to do that at the moment. So you need to do that yourself. Yep. Otherwise, you need to touching the FPC directly, and you can, visualize them. Someone adds something, and you basically generate it back by adding more stuff into the FPC. But I think the idea from what Daniel just said is actually the next step for this specific project. I think is nice. I'm sorry, I don't want to cut Daniel off. Go ahead, Daniel.
No, that was mainly what I had, and the other observation I had was that sort of in this graphic, like the different arrows represent the different channels, right? As they're moving through the package.
Yeah. So
let's update Ash.
Yeah, the arrows and the way that this graph is presented could be cleaned up a little bit. The purpose of the arrows, so this is showing the skip range. If I show the replaces, you'll get a little bit of a different view. The arrows represent an edge from one bundle to another. So the arrows give you a view of what that upgrade path would look like. So if I start at version 1.0.0, then based on the skip ranges, the only version I can upgrade to is 101. 1.10, but from 1.10, there's actually 3 versions I could potentially upgrade to. I think getting like channel ordering in here or having a clear way in here to show, these 5 bundles are part of this channel, these are part of this channel, or a way to show which channel these bundles are a part of is a definite thing that this is missing.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to clarify that for my own understanding. But okay, so this is just the upgrade. This is the upgrade graph. It's not. There's no channel level. Okay.
Yep, yeah, it's the upgrade graph. And when you go to like replaces, it's not as easy to see in skip range. But when you go to the replaces one, top to bottom, these are ordered by channel. So 1.1.0, 1.3.0, 1.2.0, 1.1.0. Each of these lines represents a different channel. The channel name just isn't called out anywhere in the graph.
Okay.
Yeah, that can be easily improved, I think, because the bundle itself should having the list of channel that should be in, so you can construct them for sure. So yeah, that can be done, absolutely.
Yeah, if you click on it, this information that loads down here, you get the name of the channel that it's a part of as well. And if it's part of multiple channels, you should get your multiple channels in here. Like maybe you have a v1.2 and a stable, or a stable and a fast. You'd be able to see that information by drilling down a bit, but it's definitely nice when you have it right there as well.
Yeah, great. Just
Yeah.
a quick question. This is the nerdy question, actually. I'm sorry. I'm just ask a silly question real quick, and I will let you say something, Joe. Can you say what's the back end tech behind this? What is the stack? I see React for sure. What
Yep.
else are you using in there?
So it's a Node.js React application. The front end is a Carbon-based React. So this is built using React and Carbon on the front end. The back end is Node.js, and it does some work to pull and stand up that catalog image, and then it uses a gRPC package to talk directly to the catalog, and then we have our own kind of internal shim data structure that we use to translate what the gRP API is giving us into how we're going to visualize it. So the backend could easily be replaced with a Go server or any other language, as long as it produces the same JSON data structure that we're expecting.
Cool. Thank you. I'm just curious, but I'm sort of nerd. Anyway, thank you for that, Nathan. Joe, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so I'll ask my first question, but then what your question, Vu, was leads into another question. So first, so I've kind of played a little bit with graphing stuff as well, and I ran into the problem that, like, if the same bundle shows up in multiple channels, then you end up with like a choice to make, which is like, do you show it just once, but then have multiple lines coming out for each channel, or do you show it, you just show like separate channels, but then the entry gets duplicated multiple times on your graph? So I don't know if you've thought about that at all, but like you end up like trying to decide between like this Venn diagram looking thing or just like duplicates in the view.
Yeah, so the way that we solve that is, like, if this 1.1.0 was part of 5 different channels, we only show it once. So we either show the skip range or replaces edges, and we only show it once, and we draw those edges. And when you click on this, you can see what channels it's a part of. So the way we've solved that is kind of by hiding some of that channel Venn diagram complexity and putting it inside of this drill down here. And then the arrows that you see here are just the upgrade edges, and they don't care about the channels necessarily. They just define from one to the other, here is what the bundles are telling me is possible.
Gotcha. So like if someone was subscribed to a specific channel, this view wouldn't necessarily tell, like this view would say, you can upgrade to one of these 3, but really in reality, they can only upgrade to one because that one is in the channel. Got it.
Yep, that brings us to something that would be interesting to see in here, and would probably be pretty easy if there was a filter option. And if you looked at this from that package, you could pretty easily figure out all the channels that were available and be able to check, I'm in this channel, so just show me what this graph looks like for that one channel. So you can really see, in my current channel, what's my upgrade look like? And then you could click 2 of them and maybe say, I'm on channel A right now. Maybe I want to switch to channel B because I want to get some faster updates. Is that switching even possible from where I'm at right now in my current channel graph?
Totally. That sounds good. So my second question was kind of along the same lines as Vu, which is there any interest in trying to incorporate this, say, into OPM, perhaps, that like OPM has a serve command? I wonder if we could, like, when OPM serve is running, that serves the gRPC endpoint, but then it also we could also have it serve something else, which is like this web app effectively.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason why we wanted to come and present this today, was because it's a tool. This is the MVP, the Jumpstart, the early hire team did a technical work project on this. It was an MVP. They met their MVP in a couple stretch goals, and now we're in this situation of we're trying to figure out what the next place to go with this is. And one of the options that we have is talking about donating it to the broader OLM community here, and that's why we're here, is if you want to incorporate it to OPM, if you see value in that, or OLM, or as a standalone tool that you'd want to further integrate all the APIs into so it gets smarter and smarter. I wanted to start that conversation to see if there was any community interest in something like this.
Yeah, so I'm not sure I would anyone would talk about this. I'm not sure it was before Joe joining. Yeah, Nathan obviously interested on to put this, beautiful tool somewhere. I personally do not wish it to have it to be in OPM because the fact that a lot of legacy stuff in there that's basically make it difficult to incorporate new stuff into it. I'd rather to be in a separate tooling because I think this is a good place for the fresh start, if you know what I mean. To actually incorporating more things into it and make it actually having an independent aspect from what OPM already does in that sense. So that at least that's in my personal references, to be honest. Not sure how do you feel about that, Joe?
The only thing I was thinking is that like the file-based catalog aspects of OPM are kind of separated out into separate file trees, and it might not be that big of a lift to add this, especially like the OPM serve command. What it basically does is like you feed it a direct, like right now it works only on directories, which are like local to the file system, but like you feed it a directory of file-based catalogs, it validates it, it loads it into our internal model for what a catalog looks like. And then right now it starts up a gRPC server and then just serves the normal gRPC API that we all know and love. But what we could do is we could like start two separate servers. Like we've already done a lot of the work to load the model. And now like we just need to also serve this other web server that serves this API as well. So to me, like it seems like it could be a small lift to add this in an existing API endpoint. The question, I think the other interesting thing here is that I know the OpenShift console team, and there's probably other front ends that would be interested in the same API. And maybe they don't care for the front end, but they might care for the back end. And we could help, like, by serving the back end, those other consumers could also get, pull this information in the same way.
Yeah, like the OpenShift topology viewer and some stuff like that. It'd be nice if you had like a catalog topology viewer in the UI where if you clicked on a catalog source that was installed, you could click on like, help me investigate, show me what's in here, and it could show you some of the same stuff, or it could even go as far as to read some of those APIs off the cluster, like the operator API or the CSVs and subscriptions to say, you've got all these, you've got 100 packages in this catalog, 15 of them are installed. Here's what versions are installed. Here's where you're at. Here's all the dependencies connect. I think that there's a lot of ways, depending on where this tool lands, to expand it.
Yep. That was my thought as well.
So I had a question too. I think this is really great work, and it's making my mind wander on various ways that we could use this. So I was wondering if you and your team have put any thought into making this an operator and then putting that into the OLM catalog, the operator hub catalog, so that when you load a cluster, you can install this and then have visualization of all of the catalogs on that cluster. I think that would be a really great use case for it. I was wondering if you put any thought into that or what the thoughts are around it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's in the back of my mind for this. I definitely think that there is benefit, even if this is ends up being a standalone tool, there is benefit to have an operator packaged version of this as well that could load it in and then just automatically detect some stuff from the cluster. I think that that's going to eventually be the next natural step for how you interact with this.
Nice, awesome.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, Tyler. So my thought was like, if you get this into the OPM serve command, then every catalog that's running on a cluster has this visualization running just because it's already running as part of that OPM serve command. The thing you would not get is that like that instance of it only knows about itself and it doesn't know about the other catalogs. So there might be a use case there for like teaching this thing how to discover other catalogs and show a global view of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and thinking out loud with that, the other thing you could look at is putting in like some of this like OPM diff commands and stuff that you could do. If you gave it two catalogs, you could bring in the OPM diff API or a similar API to show where the differences are between a package based on two catalogs. If you want to really see like between this one, if I update to this next version of the catalog, it's going to bring 3 new packages, and then in this package, it's going to bring a couple new versions. You could help render that diff view to get a little bit of a dry run and a pre-look of what's going to happen in a catalog upgrade.
Yeah, definitely. To me, this is more interesting to amount it as an API server than actually an operator, but you can totally deploying an API server as an operator, because that's already happened with the package manifest, which is an API server that being deployed. OLM pretty much is actually an operator on its own right, pretty much. So that basically you can using the same approach there, meaning that anyone can query this API and get what they needed, essentially. And I think that's an interesting point there. Anyway, anyone else having anything else to talk about before moving to the next item? All right, I will take the silent at the no. Yeah, so Nathan, absolutely. Let's continue this conversation on Slack, and we can see where this thing is going to move forward with, and having further input from other people who may not be here today.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
Thank you, Nathan, again.
Yeah, just wanted to say thank you to everybody as well for giving us the slot here to present it. I'm excited to see where this goes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nathan, for the presentation. I thought it was beautiful. Thank you again. And now we move over to Martin, I think, for his item.
Hello?
Go ahead, Martin.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right.
Feel free to share screen if you need
It's
to.
my first time in this meeting. I'm from the OpenShift telco team, and we are having some issues with one of our operators. It's the SRIOV operator that's used to set up the SRIOV interfaces, physical interfaces, to give it, to enable it to be used in containers. And the issue that we are encountering is when we remove our operator, we have to do some cleanup before it's completely removed. Now, this was working fine when we tested this with static YAML files, but now with the OLM installation, we are having a problem, because OLM is removing all the resources in a CSV all at once. So while our pods are still doing some cleanup while they are being shut down, we discovered that the roles that give our pods the permissions to do anything in the environment are deleted right away. So our cleanup just exits with some errors because it cannot access its resources. So we would like to suggest a new feature where we could add some order or dependencies in how the resources managed by OLM are removed. This could be either some finalizers that would be waiting on some other resources, some order of deletion, timeouts for some of the resources. There are multiple ideas that we have. I don't know if any of those are good. I mean, we would like to enter some discussion about it. So I came to the meeting just to get an idea of what you think about this. Is this a valid request? Could this be made a feature in OLM?
Yeah, thank you, Martin, for the question, for sure. I appreciate that. So just a real quick thought here. First of all, I think what you are saying, what you were just saying is actually an issue that we have on the OM repo as well. I think someone, I'm not sure if that was you or not, opened the issue on this particular area, meaning that this is to recap what Martin just said already, that OM in general is just going to remove all the resources that belong to the particular operator during when you uninstalling it. At the moment, there's no order of deletion. We basically going to remove everything, and I think the last piece get removed is the CSV, but there's not really any predeterministic order at all. We basically remove everything. And as Martin said, that sometimes the operator itself, the deployment needs a bit more time to clean up certain things, and it does rely on certain RBAC, role binding and so on to do certain performance. And at the time, maybe the role and role binding only get removed. And the operator itself just cannot do anything further because it doesn't no longer having the permission, the access to do so. So that become a problem. And I think you already said it, mentioned that the finalizer, basically the concept Kubernetes that you can already using right away, and it should be applied for anything that the queue manifests for sure. But I think we were just talk about this recently within our team ourselves about the fact that there's certain RBAC, meaning like role binding or cluster role binding, so on, that you put in the CSV permission, they get generated by default by OM, so to speak, and you cannot really add finalizer there because it's been generated at runtime. It's not something belong to the bundle. You can add beforehand. So that's clearly a gap there that we need to address. And you said that you're having a few thoughts, a few ideas, a few proposal there, and I would love to hear that. And if you can make a proposal somewhere and share that with us in the next meeting, I would love to hear about that because I would love to see your perspective on that.
The simplest proposal would be just to add, set some static name for an OLM finalizer, that's whatever you call it. And whenever resources are deleted, the CSV would set the finalizer on. I mean, it would create some resources with the finalizer right away. And when OLM would start the deletion, after, let's say, 1 minute, it would just scan over the resources again and clean any this specific finalizer. I mean, this is a pretty naive implementation, but something like this would already help us. Why we cannot remove why we cannot set the finalizer ourselves? One of the resources that we depend on is the roles that give us permissions, and giving the resources the ability to edit a role which basically defines what permissions our pods have would not be a good idea. I mean, that the pods could just escalate their privileges, and that would lead to disaster. So just something simple that would enable some of the resources to be deleted like 1 minute after the other ones. But
sorry to interrupt. I think there's a RBAC way to say you can update just finalizers of a resource. I could be wrong on that, but I feel like I've seen that before.
Not quite sure about this one, but yeah, that could be a way out of it. But even if it is, I would probably prefer to go the way of OLM providing an automatic way of doing this and not trying to solve this problem in our operator code.
Yeah, so just for the theoretical speaking here real quick, assuming OM will basically add the finalizer into all of the RBAC that we generated at runtime, the operator itself still need to remove that finalizer in order for OM to remove it, deleting the resource at the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that still require the work from your end then. Is that something you're okay doing?
If we are just to add some finalizers at the beginning or in our CSV, I mean, that would be fine.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about that.
So one other question, just to make sure I understand. So if another option were you can just hand us your RBAC manifests directly, and in which case you could just include the finalizers directly in the RBAC, and OLM wouldn't have to know anything about any of this. Would that be a reasonable solution as well?
Could you repeat that again?
Yeah, so basically, so one of the things that's on OLM's roadmap is to support a new bundle type that allows operators just to hand OLM a list of manifests, right? So we're calling this like CSV list bundles, or the plain manifest bundle format, where it looks a lot like the output of customized build or the output of a Helm chart template rendering, where it's just a list of manifests that are static. So if we were to support something like that, then you would be able to hand us a bundle that has those finalizers basically preset. And then OLM would apply them, and then you would have the ability then to have your operator handle those finalizers. Would that also solve the problem?
Would that be installed in one bundle as one operator, or would we have to then install it as like first this static bundle and then our operator?
It would all
No,
be
they're only in the same bundle. So what Joe is talking about right now is, as you already know, that CSV itself having certain permission or cluster permission inside it, and then at runtime OM will generate RBAC, meaning row binding or cluster row binding and so on, at runtime for those permission. And now basically what Joe's saying, that we no longer having CSV anymore, and then you basically the one generate those RBAC yourself, and you include that in the bundle, including also the finalizer in that manifest. Is that what Joe is saying?
Okay, this would be our finalizers, but then we would have to take care of removing the finalizers in our code, or would OLM provide some automatic way, to remove some of the finalizers?
You will need to respond for that as well, just similar to the other way that I was talking about.
Yeah. What I'm getting at is that like the direction of OLM is likely going to be a little less opinionated on how things work, right? And operators or applications just hand us a pile of bundles that we apply and make sure stay up to date. And then when you like uninstall a bundle, then we just delete them all the way that we kind of already do. So if there's specific ordering guarantees, then like the approach of using finalizers like you're describing would need to be in place. But I think like the direction we want to go with OLM is that we get out of the business of handling like these very specific use cases. But to do that, we have to like hand you more power by like letting you drive the contents of the manifest that we apply.
Hard to give me, it's hard for me to give you like a definite answer here. I'm not really sure I get the whole concept. But if you can send me some link like to the description of this, maybe I can take a look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We're just discussing, option here. We are not proposing a permanent solution, anything like that at all. So we're just basically, brainstorming what would be something that you feel comfortable with, or something that we can move forward with at a later time. And absolutely, we can tap on this offline, and then just gather some option here, and explain a little bit further. I think would be better in the offline setting, and basically put a doc together. I hope that would be nice to see what you think and go from there. Because I know there's a outstanding issue on this, and you are not the first and probably won't be the last one encountering this specific problem. So that is something we need to address eventually for sure.
All right.
All right then. Is there anyone else anything to say about the topic?
Is there a way to address this with the existing owner references pattern that we're using, and making some of the owner references, making them not all flat across everything, being tied back to a CSV, but maybe saying like the owner refs for the roles and for the RBAC and stuff is maybe tied to the deployment. So logically,
yeah, because
cleaned up.
Owner references, meaning that when you're using the Kubernetes GC garbage collector for that, then that's something we cannot even control at all. Just because you apply that to a different, you let something else own it, doesn't mean you know when it's going to get deleted at all. The timing entirely up to the GC, right? So that's basically passing the problem to another owner. That doesn't really fix the problem that you particularly want something to get removed after you 100% sure that you're done with the work that you're doing. That's the finalizer job, essentially.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. I see someone raising their hand. Alex?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, super excited to talk about this more on a issue with the OLM because I think it is important. It might be interesting to even consider. So I need to better understand the use case of what we're trying to do, but from the sounds of it, it's that you know there's some cleanup steps that your operator needs to perform on exit, and we do have a communication channel between OLM and the operators. So there could be an opportunity to create a new operator condition that allows the OLM to tell the operator, hey, I'm about to shut you down. What are you gonna, if you need to do some cleanup, do the cleanup. And then once the operator is done doing its cleanup, it can message back to OLM just saying, hey, I'm ready to be shut down, and then OLM can proceed with the shutdown. But I don't think we need to discuss this all here. I just wanted to flip that before, as something we can talk to in the ticket as well.
I'm not sure that aligns with like Kubernetes, like I deleted something, right? Like if someone, I guess there'd be a finalizer then on everything that OLM creates, and then OLM would handle that finalizer by doing this communication dance with the operator. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure about. I understand. Just so everyone aware, Alex talking about operator condition API, and I can see what Alex is saying. But that happen when you do like upgrade and stuff. That can be using operator condition. But what happened? Are you using console, for example, to delete something? Like you basically click a button named uninstall, and at that time it just triggered the whole thing by itself. Like the operator wasn't even aware that somebody gonna delete it. You know what I mean? Like at that time, how can it write into the operator condition at all to make sure that it doesn't do anything unless you basically do that beforehand? Like as soon as you deploying operator, this basically write to the condition say that you cannot delete me without me doing the cleanup first. That may work.
I was kind of leaning towards what Joe had proposed. And again, it seems like a lot of work for this feature, like adding finalizers, and then when OLM notices a deletion event, updating the operator condition saying, hey, I'm about to delete you, tell me that it's okay. And then the operator that was installed does its cleanup and then updates the condition status to say like, hey, yep, I'm ready to be deleted. And then it handles all use cases as far as I can think of. Again, this is, I think any solution that we do is going to take conversation on an issue created against the repository.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are a few different ways to resolve this, and obviously we need a little bit further discussion to see what we have, what is the option, and what would be the comfortable and more smooth experience when it came to this kind of clean up during the deletion for sure. So definitely we can continue this on the offline Slack channel for sure. Right.
Just not to lose this issue, should I open any issue on the OLM repo, or where would be the best place to start the discussion?
Yeah, I think the issue only exists. I can give it to you on Slack. Is that okay? And you can basically comment on that. Yeah, absolutely. I can do that. Yeah, we do. Thank you, Martin. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you, Martin. All right then. Is anyone else have anything? We have 8 minutes left, so probably not enough for another big topic. But is there anyone else have anything else to say? Anything quick to discuss, perhaps? All right, then I will take the silent and the no. So I would love to stop the meeting a bit early, so anyone can having 8 minutes left to get a coffee, perhaps. So just a reminder, if anyone having any another topic item they want to discuss, feel free to add them into the docs for the next meeting. And I would like to thank you again, Nathan and Martin and everyone else having been involved in this meeting, for the discussion. I appreciate that, and have a great day. I will see you again in the next meeting.
Yeah, thank
Goodbye
you, you too.